Unfortunately, it's not for Mana against Mayo, so to make up for our lack of Mayo contingent on the show, let's go over to Kevin Kilbane in Moscow, I think. Kevin, how are things?
I'm very good, Owen. Very good, yeah. All's well in Moscow.
What's the plan for the weekend? You're on the highlights show, I understand, on the box for the next couple of days.
Yeah, got a couple of studio appearances now, and then I'm flying back on Sunday. So yeah, no more games to be at. I was due to be at the Uruguay-France game, but there was a change around, and it's difficult to get in and out of Nizhny from Moscow, so it had to change around on the planning. So basically, I'm just staying in Moscow, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, you get a good central hub and a good view of everything there in your snazzy studio for the BBC. We were just chatting there a couple of moments ago just about the constant comparisons and the constant kind of beating down of the international game, especially when you compare it to kind of the grotesque capitalism and the brilliant football we see in the Champions League, for example, week in, week out. But that's certainly not the case today. This side of the draw is showing how good it can be when you've got one heavy side of the draw, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it means more. It means more than the Champions League, and you know what I think, Dave, and you both know what I think. It does, though. It does. It means more, no matter what you think it does. You only need to see lads crying through national anthems. You don't get that. You don't get anyone crying before a Champions League theme tune, do you? Let's be honest. So, I think we clearly know what it means to the players individually. But I think these games today is. I mean, the Uruguay-France game, it looks. I mean, and you can say that for the Belgium-Brazil game, but the Uruguay, because it is a total contrast in styles, this one, and you've got such a brilliantly balanced team with Uruguay who do everything. They just do everything right. They've got that little bit of class up front. They've got that solidity defensively. Who actually love and enjoy defending. To contrast that with the France style, who France just if you play open and attacking against France, they'll do to you what they did against Argentina. So that game probably intrigues me a lot more than the other three quarterfinals, should I say here. But I think that Brazil-Belgium game, I think we'll probably get a lot of attacking football in that one. That could be more of an open game, that one.
Yeah, John Duggan is going to that. He spoke a good bit about that with him earlier on, so we'll touch on that in a moment. But just on Uruguay-France, like the common perception is that Oscar Tabarez has managed to take the players he's got and make them the sum of their parts, whereas with France it can often be the opposite, that they've got an unbelievably talented squad and they don't live up to the sum of their parts eventually. Has that perception changed a lot since the Argentina game, Kev?
Yeah, it probably is. I think when we saw Mbappe produce the performance that he produced, I think the work rate that I think Deschamps is getting out the side as well. How many times did you see Antoine Griezmann tracking back? He was like defending in his own at the corner of or near the corner flag at some stage. You know, defending crosses coming in. I think the talented players, Mbappe and Griezmann, but it's the work rate that he's getting out of them as well. I think they've got. Much the same I spoke about the balanced team of Uruguay. They're probably less. I'd feel they're maybe a little bit less balanced. They can be a little bit more off the cuff at times. But I think when they've got Kante playing there, when they've got Varane and Umtiti who are trying to keep the ship organised, I think in general they are better balanced than we've probably seen in recent times. This French team, but they're just incredibly talented, and that's what leads you to suggest they should win the game. If all being equal, France should win the game. But Uruguay simply don't play like that. They don't play by the rules. It's amazing to see this Uruguay side. They've only conceded one goal. The goal they conceded was a set piece, actually, wasn't it? But I think when you're watching them from open play, they don't look like they're going to concede, which is very different from the sides that France have faced, particularly that Argentine game, because Argentina were just so open.
It's like watching Atletico Madrid at times, Kev. And I know I'm basing that mainly on Diego Godin because he defends for Uruguay in the exact same way that he defends for Diego Simeone. And when you saw a couple of the goals that the French got against Argentina, particularly the penalty where Mbappe was able to sprint into pretty much half of the field, there's no way that Uruguay are going to be that high up the pitch, is it? That, as you said, you described, they love to defend. And France are not going to get in behind them, are they?
Well, you can't see it. If they do leave that sort of space, you know they're going to be hurt badly. But Jimenez and particularly Godin, the experience that they've got now, knowing full well, they're the sort of lads, Dave, you can imagine. They'll watch a video and they'll be going, right, he does this. The quick thinkers, they know exactly. If they get caught once, you can imagine they won't get caught again. That's basically it. The clever footballers on the pitch. So you're saying that penalty that they conceded Argentina against France, how open they were and allowing Mbappe. Mbappe would have been fouled. Simply would have been fouled before he had the chance to run that
Very
far.
True.
So he'd get the two lads in front of him, would be clipping his heels, hands up in the air, yellow card. And that's exactly how they play. There's very little space between the back four. There's very little space between, or from the back four to the midfield two that's sat in front of them. Very much an orthodox 4-4-2. How many times have we sat there and we go, you need to play three-man midfield. You've got to have three-man in midfield to counteract the quality of the better attacking sides. But they come narrow as a midfield four. They don't necessarily play open and expansive, and they deny space to the opposition, and that's how they do it. Distances, the distances that they get between each other are perfect. That is why they're so difficult to play through.
It seems like one of the terms of the World Cup has been shithousery, and the one team who haven't been indulging in any of this has been Uruguay. They've got one yellow card.
Yeah, let's wait for this game. Let's wait for this game. You can imagine what's going to happen tonight just after saying that, Owen. You look at Colombia, look at Brazil, look at the, as you say, shithousery. Look what it is annoying when you're watching it. And I think to a casual football fan or even a non-football fan, when you're just coming in and you're watching that type of bravado and all that sort of crap that's on the pitch, it puts you off the game. It does. It would if I wasn't necessarily a football fan, I'm watching that, I'd be switching off because I couldn't be arsed with it. But in general, you've got players who are a top class, and we're seeing great attacking football off the back of it. It's just you wish that the referees could be booking Neymar for the crap that he's pulling, could be booking those Colombian players for the crap that they were pulling the other night. That is what you'd want. You'd want stronger referees just to dish out a yellow card early and then trying to put it to bed. But it's happened in past tournaments, and it's going to happen again.
Well, the Colombian example is very interesting because of things like how Henderson went down when he got headbutted, and in fairness, it was a swing of the head back to him, but ultimately the way this tournament is being refereed, you kind of have to join them really if you can't beat them. And just to read you out one of Gareth Southgate's quotes from yesterday, he was saying that maybe we're getting a bit smarter, maybe we're now playing by the rules the rest of the world are playing by. I thought there were many fouls in the game, and I don't think we conceded anywhere near the number of our opponents. If we went down, it was because we were fouled, and of course that should be given the caveat that Harry Maguire went down and he clearly wasn't fouled in that situation. Can you blame the English players for following the lead of Neymar and the Colombians?
Well, personally I could blame them. You don't want to see it. You see Harry Maguire there. You know full well Harry Maguire's going down like that. It's VAR now. Even if he was given the penalty, it would have been taken off him. So you do wonder with that. That should be an instant booking for anyone that's doing that sort of carry on.
Didn't Maguire though, if we're being talking about this particular incident, didn't he wag the finger immediately at the referee to say that's not a pen?
Yeah, actually, good point. He did.
I'm not sure we can castigate Harry Maguire.
Yeah, but why would that come into your head to start with, though, Dave, to dive over like that? He's gone looking for a penalty.
Sometimes you just go over. Sometimes you take a dive and almost halfway down you think, I'm going to get slammed for this. Look, I'm just saying it was different from some dives. Second he was onto his feet, he was wagging the finger at the referee. Now, this could be purely self-preservation, Kev. I mean, a lot of things might have gone through his mind in that split second gone, oh shit, I'm going to be hammered for this.
Yeah.
So he was almost still getting back up, and he was wagging the finger at the referee to say, no pen, ref. So it was slightly different to some of the other situations.
Yeah, but I'll probably take that. You're probably right what you're saying. Sometimes, yes, that can happen. Split second stuff. You've gone it. You're almost panicking in that situation. You're not so much panicking, but you're getting a little bit more tense because you feel as though I'm going to get hit here. I'm almost going looking for that penalty, and there's no contact. You go over and you think, so you've got to get on with it. You run back to referee. Fair play. That's fine. I'll take that. But you're saying there in relation to what Southgate's saying. He probably recognises, Southgate, that look, lads, this is what they're going to do to you to try to get a result. We only need to look back from when England have gone out when Beckham against Simeone and little things like this that are absolutely nothing on a pitch, yet they're getting red carded for it. So it might be a little bit of keeping up with the Joneses, or trying to maybe just be a little bit more streetwise and keep up with what the people are doing around you and be a bit smarter. That's the only thing you can say on the pitch. I think Southgate has recognised that, yeah.
Speaking of shithousery, Kev, Luis Suarez is obviously going to be playing in this game, and he interests me in that he's running out of opportunities to maybe put a gloss on his World Cup legacy. It is his third tournament. 2010 in South Africa with the handball against Ghana. 2014 taking a chunk out of the shoulder of Chiellini. Like, he's pretty much left both of the previous World Cups in disgrace. He'll be 35 by the time Qatar rocks around, so you'd imagine this is the last bite of the cherry for him. And Cavani has been getting all the plaudits, all the headlines. Yeah. Unintentional, I promise you. It is very interesting that, you know, this needs to be his stage tonight. Take out one of the big guns. Show us why you're one of the best strikers in the world. Only Ronaldo and Messi have a better league scoring record in European football than he in the last 5 seasons. Just give us your take on how this game is set up for him and what he might do tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're interested to see how Cavani is, how his fitness levels are, because they've looked so good as a pairing throughout. The work rate of Suarez is phenomenal. It is. I mean, as I said before about this team being well balanced as a squad, they're probably well balanced, well drilled, but 1 to 11. But the key to how they go on press sides is with Suarez. Suarez is where he's the link, or the start of it, the start of a press, how he works. And, you know, for all his talent, for how good he's been throughout his career, he's never lost that willingness to work hard. And we've seen that happen with so many of the players, that they get to a level and that work rate just drops off ever so slightly. And season by season, it gets less and less. But not with Suarez. It's not been the case with him. So you talk about legacy, but you understand how difficult it is. We start to realise now that Lionel Messi is, in many people's eyes, he will never be considered the greatest because he probably won't win a World Cup. I don't buy it, but that is the level, that is the mantle that he's got to carry. Diego Maradona is his level. That's the way that he won a World Cup. Messi hasn't done that, so he's not as good. It's rubbish. Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't been able to produce it at a World Cup, yet he's won a Euros. He's won countless Champions Leagues. So you can't necessarily judge these top class players on what they're actually achieving at a World Cup, I don't think. But in many respects, it's in their country where they're being judged. Argentina, Uruguay, they're being judged on what they're producing at the World Cup. So they can do everything that they want for Barcelona, Real Madrid, whoever it would be. But their whole career is being judged on what they're producing at the World Cup. As you say, he has left 2 World Cups now in disgrace, Suarez. So he probably has to, in many people's eyes, and maybe in my eyes as well, he probably needs to produce a top-class performance, maybe a couple of goals in this game, get Uruguay to a semi-final, and then he can actually then maybe scratch off what's happened in the previous 2 World Cups for him.
Like, when you look at the overall picture of things and you look at the fantastic teams that are playing today and you look at the opportunity that there is for England on the opposite side of the draw, and you form this picture that not a single player left in the World Cup has ever even appeared at a World Cup final. So there's opportunities left, right and centre, and everybody's thinking, right, this is our big chance. But at the same time, you look at the likes of Belgium and you look at the likes of France, like, they can both be considered to be golden generations of footballers. And I'm sure France, after knocking Argentina out the other day, it's pretty glaring to them that a golden generation can be lost pretty quickly. Looking at the likes of Lionel Messi walking off the pitch, and he's never going to win a World Cup.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You say the Belgium are as good as anybody. We know that. That's why that Brazil game is so finely balanced. As for France, I mean, you look at Mbappe the other night and you're seeing this player who's lit up a World Cup, and you're thinking, right, well, what can this lad do now for the next 10 years? But you only need to look at Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi was producing that type of performance at 19 and 20. You'd never know where a career is going to go. So it's almost as if you've got to just grasp it while it's actually there in front of you. This is a massive chance for France. Brazil, Belgium, they'll all feel the same. Of course, on the other side of the draw, they'll all feel the same. This is a big chance to actually do something historical. And that is the whole point of it. It's so difficult to actually do that when you look at what Messi and Ronaldo have done at World Cups. This might be Mbappe's one opportunity. He may be injured when the next one comes around. Probably won't be. You hope it won't be. But maybe in his own head, he has to think of it being, this is my one chance. That is maybe the thing that's maybe gets lost in it all, through it all, I think.
Just before we wrap, Kev, I just want to get your take on England against Sweden tomorrow. Like, the one question I have is, how the hell have Sweden got here?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. It is amazing. Was it Jermaine Genius described them as a championship team the other night? I think that's what I'd heard him say. I think it's probably a little bit harsh when you say that about them, but the players that they've got, if you look at the England side, realistically, there's maybe 1 or 2 that would get in the England side. England squad, you'd probably feel as well. They're not household names. That is a thing. But it's by true organisation. It's being disciplined, how they've gone about it. It was a little bit more open in the last game against Switzerland than probably the previous games had been, but they played brilliantly against Germany in the first half, maybe in the first 60 minutes before Germany, they gave them a bit of a scene to in the last 30 minutes. But that was maybe because they had something to keep hold of, so they defended a little bit deeper. But they've got one or two good players. Forsberg's a good player. Toivonen's goal that he scored against Germany was excellent as well, if you're looking at that for a little bit of class. But overall, they aren't the greatest. But if they're going to beat England and get through, it's about being solid and about doing the things that's got them into this position up to now.
It must be incredibly hard to take yourself down from the pitch where England were at after winning a penalty shootout for the first time ever in a World Cup the last day, to get them back down to the level where they're now favourites for a game. That's quite the transformation, isn't it? Like, I'm not sure, would it have been something similar after Robbie Keane scores the goal in 2002 and then suddenly you've got to get yourself back down for the final group game where you were heavy favourites for that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in general, for those lads now as well, it's about recovery, getting the body as in as good a shape as it can be, as quickly in as quick a time as possible. That's what it is. Get the rest in. The high will be with them. I doubt that they've slept. I doubt they would have slept after that game. They certainly would. I mean, it was finishing here close to midnight Russian time, so they probably wouldn't have got to sleep till all hours as it was anyway after that match. And I believe they've had a team meeting after the game trying to relive the memories and all this sort of thing. So I think what's happened is, I think that now they'll be trying to come off it. Southgate, I think, is very much, he's balanced, isn't he? Seems to me he's not got too high, he's not got too low. He knows full well, because he's been at these tournaments before. He's had big results in major tournaments, and he knows what the expectations are around his squad. So I think he's just tried to. He would have tried to bring them down slowly over the last couple of days. Try to get them up to speed again. That is the thing, because you will still need a high intensity training session to get the legs back up to speed in the time it's taken from that last penalty being taken to the first game or to the next game against Sweden. So I think he's just trying to get the side ticking back over again, get them up to speed, because the tempo that they've played in probably every one of the games that they've played, maybe not the Belgian game, you can't say, but particularly the Panama, Tunisia and the Colombia game, the tempo they started at has been exceptional. So that is what they need to try to get back into that sort of tempo again early on in the match.
John says they're going all the way to the final. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah, it's coming home, isn't it? Bloody hell! I can barely contain myself here, honestly. They've got a great chance. Croatia are the dangers for them, I feel. Let's see how Russia go on. Russia could conceivably they could go out and beat Croatia, but Croatia are the dangers. They have got top class players, and that game, I would say, probably myself in my head, I think Croatia have got better players than England. So that is probably the danger I'd feel. But once they're at that stage, the tempo that they have been playing at, they're a danger for anybody. Yeah.